So these are those lateral step downs as we talked about when you were here. You can have a hand there for support, and what I want to see is I want you to be able to go down, tap your foot, and either come back up or slowly tap your foot, lightly set down, and then come all the way back up. What I don't want is that kind of drop towards the end. So if you get that drop towards the end, grab another piece of support, and you can go ahead and use a chair or a pole of some sort, and I want you to lower yourself down. Even if you have to use quite a bit of pressure, I want you to lower yourself down to the point where you don't get that buckling, and you're able to complete that movement without buckling. So if you're kind of getting to that point where it's like, oh, I'm starting to lose it, push harder into the chair, and slowly lower that body down so you can increase that time under tension and that pressure on those tendons through that knee to help build some more strength. This is the sit to stand one still. I'm totally fine with, and I want you to alternate kind of working on these two variations. That first variation like we've been doing, where you're squatting, lightly tapping, and then standing, trying to control it, that lightly tapping and then standing. And I also want you to work on gradually lowering down the surface, where you sit without plopping, fully rested, relaxed, and then you're going to be standing up from that position, okay? Goal is if early on you kind of have to rock a little bit and use your arms to help you stand, sure, that's fine. Then as we get going further and further into it, the goal will be to try to not use the arms as much, where you're kind of leaning. You can even put your hands back behind your back a little bit to kind of lean forward and press. But if you need to use a little bit of momentum early on, that's okay. But goal will be to just not have to use very much momentum. And to advance it, you just lower down the height of the seat that you're sitting on. So these are isometric lunges and even some like pulsing lunges. So what we're going to do here, going to kind of simulate having a chair on that countertop. You can use two different levels of support if you want to. When you're lunging down, if you remember, I want you to keep that back leg going almost straight down. So you're not keeping that back leg straight leaning forward. You're going to be going down. Just go to the level you feel comfortable at, and you can go and hold it. Goal would be about 30 seconds. If you can't quite get there, you can only do 15 before like losing form or breaking down. Just do 15. Once that becomes a little bit easy and you're able to kind of hit 30 seconds, no problem, you can either go lower or you can start incorporating some little lunging pulses where you're going up and down, using your arms as much as you feel like you need to have good form. And then once you get better and better at them, you can use just one hand or you can use no hands. So this is that hamstring isometric exercise. What you're going to do is you're going to be laying on the ground like this, knees ever so slightly bent, toes kind of pulled up a little bit, and heels kind of digging into the ground. The action you're trying to produce is like a curling motion, okay? But your legs aren't actually going to move. They're going to stick into the ground. So what I want you to do is I want you to kind of dig those heels down to the ground, pulling your heels back towards your glutes. And you should feel a nice strong contraction behind the thighs there, engaging those hamstring muscles. To get a little bit more of an engagement, you're going to bridge up ever so slightly, but that's going to be a pretty strong pull. You're going to hold this for about 15 seconds and completely relax, doing about 3 sets worth. The glute extension one, you're going to kind of lock yourself into this one position. So when my knee is bent this far, that's all the farther I'm going to bend it. I'm going to kick and extend my hip backwards. And you should feel it in the glute muscle. You should also probably feel it in the hamstring muscle a little bit as well. I really want you kicking that leg straight back. I want you to do it on both sides because you're actually going to feel it in the leg that you're stabilizing with as well. To make it more challenging, you use less pressure to stabilize your upper body. To make it a little bit easier, you can lean over and really focus on just that glute. This one's that dumbbell lateral leg lift. You can use a band, if you remember, having a band around the knees. You can do it with a band, pulling apart like this. You can do it with a dumbbell as well, pulling apart like this. So with the dumbbell, I'm just going to show you, you're just going to hang it down by the side, find a wall for support, but you're going to be putting a lot of weight on just the single leg and kind of using that for stability. Bringing this leg out to the side, nice and high, nice and rhythmically, using those lateral glute muscles. You should feel it in both of your legs, okay? Because this one's stabilizing and this one is working. From the side, what I want it to look like is I don't want this knee coming forward as you're going out, okay? If you see how I'm here, it's going to stay completely parallel with that leg, or you can even go back and do a little bit of extension where that knee slightly comes behind the hip. I don't want you hiking forward this way, otherwise you're not using the glute. The hip has to go straight sideways or even into slight extension as you're lifting up that way. Once you get more advanced and you get those ankle weights, should you get them for Christmas, you can make this a little more challenging by using an ankle weight even, keeping this leg straight and bringing the leg out to the side with your hand on your hip, okay? The ankle weight being lower on the leg is going to create more of a lever, causing it to be a little bit more challenging. So this is another option you can do as well. If you see from the side, I'm not kicking my leg forward at all. My leg is going straight out to the side or even slightly into extension to really work that glute. So this is that single leg kettlebell RDL. So what you're going to do, find something to hold yourself on. Okay, whatever hand is on the support system, that inside leg is going to be down towards that side, and the weight's going to be in your opposite hand. So I'm going to lower myself down, hinging, okay? And I'm going to be standing up, pushing that hip forward to bridge back up. If it's hard single leg, you can always tap that back foot down to help give yourself some stability. So from the front, this is what it looks like. Driving the hip forward. From the side, I'm going to show you here what I want it to look like. Is this knee? It unlocks, okay? But it doesn't bend any farther than what it unlocks. So it unlocks, and you're going to be hinging over. Hinging, hinging, hinging. You should feel a good little stretch in the hamstring. And then when you're firing, you're pushing this hip forward and engaging the glute and hamstring to fire, okay? So it's down here as far as you feel like you can. I don't want you to get lower by doing this or bending the knee. This is all locked into place. And a good way to kind of remember how to do this is if you keep your eyes up and look forward. It's harder to drop your chest if your eyes are up looking forward. Be in this position, then you're going to push this hip forward to return to that standing position.